Mrs. Sloan? Mrs. Johnson? Mr. Bear? Mr. Greenstein? Mr. Hohauser? Mr. McDermott? Here. Mrs. Naldoni? Thank you.
I'll make a motion for the adoption of the agenda September 9th, 2014. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? 7-0, thank you. And we will now move to student and community comments. I would like to ask everyone to please identify themselves for the record and know that we have a 3-minute limit for each speaker. Thank you.
My name is Joshua Curtis, and I'm a senior in Schreiber High School. And having been in the community and school district my whole life, I've seen our district at its finest. PARP, Field Day, Library Days, Art, Science Olympiad, to name a few programs. These provide exciting and interesting ways to engage in learning or activities not traditionally allowed for, or to explore various interests. Yet over the past 13 years, this district's educational stardom has faded, and I have stood by hearing complaints from many in the district about the school's supposed extravagances, such as librarians and art. I stood by as classes grew in size, as inspiring teachers had to be turned away, as my school roofs leaked. I can watch the community's quality education dry up no longer. What has set me over the edge is a lack of extracurricular funding. Debate, Model UN, Tree Huggers, Drama Club, Academic Decathlon, newspapers, and countless other clubs at the high school and middle school have survived without adequate funding for years, largely because they were able to raise money through bake sales. These have now been banned, and though that is not the Board of Education's fault, we need replacement funds. I'm a board member of both the Model United Nations and debate teams at Schreiber, so I can openly attest to these clubs' dire finances, and you would hear a similar story from other clubs. The Schreiber debate team is nationally renowned and respected. Our trophies line the cases in the lobby outside, but our tradition is in danger. In good years, we only attend 3 large tournaments per year. Last year, only 2. Our budget simply cannot accommodate the team our school deserves. The team must pay $1,900 just for its most basic membership in the local debate network. Members must pay for their own registration and hotel rooms when they travel to tournaments, such as for the states in Delhi, New York, not to mention transportation, putting the cost per tournament at $200 per family. In our economically diverse community, this is not affordable and should not be tolerated. Sports teams get more funding and less grief. And while there is nothing wrong with good sports teams, let's not pretend that a single debate team desiring quality is the primary extracurricular expense. It isn't as if we were asking for more from a strained budget either. Our per pupil spending is 42nd on Long Island.
30 seconds.
Below our neighbors North Shore, Roslyn, Manhasset, and Great Neck, and even below Amityville, Hempstead, and Uniondale. We are not doing more with less, we are simply doing less, far less. This is simply indefensible. I will speak on more issues throughout the year until some type of solution is reached. I would stay for the whole meeting, but I do have sport to return to at home, so I'll stay as long as I can. Thank you.
Hi, Hank Wagner, former senior at Swan High School. A quick series of questions. The first question, not a question, comment. It seems to me, and I mentioned before that no one is here, and the 2 people who come from our effort, we might consider giving that speaker or speakers maybe an extra minute to talk, since there's no long-minded people. Second thing I would like to ask you is our city school board members of the New York State School Board Association? Yes? No? Yes. Well, could I then assume that you are in favor of the position that the New York State School Board Association has taken this year and the previous years, talking about doing away with the tribal amendment, part of the tail of the tribal amendment? They feel that's very hurtful to the financing of school operations. So there, the New York State School Board Association favor of doing away with it. You can read it in the latest white paper. So is our school board also on board with that position? Don't everybody, don't answer all at once. It's Hank at outboundline.net for your answer by email. I know you're going to be talking tonight about the proposed bond issue. Rumor has it $46 million bond issue. I want to commend the school board in your infinite wisdom last year when we had the bond discussed and approved for the roofs that hopefully no longer leak. And you were smart enough to allow two civilians, if you will, who have expertise in the construction area to help peruse the work, the estimates, as well as the work, and through their great efforts and the efforts of the school board, that the money saved by the taxpayers was about $2.5 million. So my question is, will you also this year use your good judgment and allow, if in fact civilians step up to the plate who have some expertise to go over the proposed bond and the work involved? Again, you don't have to answer that right now, you can answer that another day. And the last thing I'll just say is I went to the town board meeting in North Hempstead. However, it was so crowded I decided to leave. I'm right over here.
30 seconds, please.
I've asked, how about 40 seconds? I've asked on several years now, just as every other school district in the local area, whether it's Roslyn, Garden City, Manassas, Jericho, and Infinitum, none of them have their school board meetings on a Tuesday. The reason for that is very clear, because Tuesday is the night that towns have their meetings, villages have their meetings, libraries have their meetings, etc. And I frankly, with all respect, I see no reason why we can't also schedule our school board meetings on a Monday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday. Thank you very much.
There are no other community comments at this time. We move on with our agenda. And I would just like to welcome everyone to the 2014-2015 school year. We had a wonderful opening. And let me just go back and see the day before the official opening for the students. We did have the opening day for the teachers, and I was fortunate enough to be there. And it wasn't just the teachers, it was the entire staff. And it's a wonderful thing to see. Everyone's so excited, prepared, ready to go and greet all the students in every building in every way the next day. And everything went off without a hitch, and it doesn't happen by accident. There was a lot of hard work and effort. A lot of the staff in our school district works all through the summer. Those that don't officially work in their buildings are preparing at home, taking classes, and it was a wonderful thing to see everyone back and then to hear all the reports from all the schools. And I would like to just give a special thank you to transportation, because as I drove around and saw all the buses and all the bus stops with the incredible amounts of children for Washington, and to think that that all worked out is some kind of jigsaw puzzle that is really amazing we managed to do. And our custodians were preparing the buildings all summer, so everything was ready. There was a lot of work done in the facilities and technology. I don't know if anyone has received feedback yet for any of their children, but the whole district, essentially, in my terms, because I can't articulate it correctly in technology terms, was revamped and brought up to speed, and we're finally getting to be where we should be. And I really have to thank the entire technology department for that. And anything that I left out, just thank you to everyone that works in the school district. Welcome back to all the parents. And just for a moment on the bond issue, we will be speaking about it later, but we will be forming a committee of community members representing various constituencies to comprise the committee. But the facilities tours will be open to everyone in the community to come around and see the things that we feel we need to do and see why we can pretty obvious on the tours. And those will be posted and published in every way possible so everybody will know about them. And we hope everyone will participate. It's important to stay informed. And to please stay informed and interested and looking up the dates where we will be showing the various meetings we'll be holding. We're trying to reach out to everyone in the community in every way we can. If you have a group or representative that you think is not being invited to any meetings personally
hold a meeting, we certainly would like to hear from you. So thank you, and again, welcome back. And I'll now turn it over to our superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Sloan. I'm also very excited and happy to welcome everybody back. We had a very, very smooth, wonderful school opening, and we did open with 5,354 students, which is about 23 students total higher than we started last year. But we will be having an enrollment report, so we'll be talking a little bit more specifics at that time. I also just want to offer my thank yous to all our school staff who work so hard to have schools ready for opening day, and also to thank the Board of Education again and the community for adopting the budget that we have, because it really did enable us to maintain our program and staffing for this school year, and we really are very grateful for that. And I don't want to single anybody out, I just want to thank our student for coming up and speaking to us. We do appreciate and want to hear from our students, so thank you for doing that. There's a few things that we've gotten some inquiry about. I think many of you are aware that Nassau County has put in the speed cameras. I just want to let you know that they have not given us a specific spot for the speed cameras. All that we have been told is that the Port Washington is getting one of the mobile units, and that it will probably be somewhere on Port Washington Boulevard, the distance between Weber and St. Peter's. But again, it's possible that it could be placed at any point where our schools are, so I don't think I need to tell everyone to drive carefully anyway, but just be aware of that we have not been told a specific spot. There was a great deal of work in personnel this summer. I do want to thank Ms. Fennick and her staff for all the hiring that was done. And I also would like to thank Dr. Westervelt for all the work that was done in the curriculum office. As many of our parents are becoming aware, as we had said last year, we adopted a new math program, Math and Focus, K-8. We'll be having professional development sessions for our teachers, but we also have workshops that are being planned for parents as well. That information is on our district website, and I want to thank the HSA PTAs because they've been trying to get the word out about those workshops as well, and we really do encourage our parents to attend those. Also, we have some of our student assessment results, and Dr. Westervelt will be doing a more comprehensive overview and review of our results at the upcoming October Board of Education meeting, so stay tuned for that. Tonight there will be a discussion on the proposed bond, and we did meet with the athletic groups last night, and we have other meetings planned with other groups, and we'll do that for a little bit later. A lot of activity on the campus here in terms of athletics and sports. Just want to remind everybody that Pride and Court is on September 20th, so please come out and cheer on the Vikings. One thing that I did also just want to mention, that there was an article in Newsday a couple of weeks ago regarding our schools. And in a few minutes, we're going to be acknowledging 3 of our schools who are designated as reward schools. And we'll be hearing a little bit about what that means. But one of our schools was also put on what's called a local assistance plan. We are not overly concerned about this. It does have to do with a group of our students. It is at Daly Elementary School. It has to do with our students with disabilities. I want the parents and the community to know that when we got this notification, I did file an appeal, and unfortunately, State Ed did not accept my appeal. Dr. Westervelt and I were interviewed by Newsday, and we believe very strongly that these tests do not accurately measure the performance of our students with disabilities, and we have been vocal about that. Regardless, we will be putting together the plan and working with the staff, and I just wanted to to make people aware that this is it's a bit of a numbers issue, and we will just work that through. I am going to turn it over to Ms. Bennett for the enrollment report, and we'll talk a little bit about class size.
Thank you, Dr. Mooney. As you said, yes, the enrollment right now is 5,354 students, 23 more than last year. But I went back to the 12-13 school year as well, and from 12-13 to 13-14, we had 43 more students. So for the past 2 years, we've had an additional 66 students. So our enrollment, as I've been saying all along, is increasing. When I take a closer look at the actual enrollment report, at Guggenheim in kindergarten, we have one class that's over the class size limit right now. In first grade, all 4 classes at Guggenheim and all 4 classes at Sousa also are over the class size policy limit. Second, third, and fourth grade, everybody is within the limits, within the range. And fifth grade, again at Guggenheim, there are 3 classes of fifth grade are over the class size limit, as well as the 3 classes at Bailey. But please also keep in mind right now, it's only the beginning of the school year, the numbers fluctuate, people moving in, moving out, and so hopefully in about a couple of weeks or so, the numbers should be leveling more. We are also sensitive to the class sizes at, some of the class sizes of 30 or more at the middle school and the high school. So all this we can take a closer look at. In October, as we've done in the past, if there's any class sizes that are beyond the class size policy limit, we will be putting a resolution to the board asking them for approval to go above the class size limit. That's it for now, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Fennick. I do want just to remind our families that last June, when we had seen where some of the class sizes were going, the board approved the addition of 1 class section for 4 of the 5 elementary schools. Salem did not show signs of needing an additional class section at that time, and that has held. Most of our schools at this point do not even have classroom space for another additional section. I want to commend our building principals. They have done some creative scheduling with existing paraprofessional staff to offer support to some of those classrooms. I did visit the classrooms last week, and again, our classroom teachers are really working very hard to, set up the classrooms to comfortably accommodate the children, and it is an issue, and it's something actually that will be part of the bond discussion as well. So just something to keep in mind, but we have addressed as best we can for this upcoming school year. Many of these numbers do change, and we don't know our full registration until the end of August. And as Ms. Fennick mentioned, it's possible that some of this will fluctuate a little bit more as we get into the school year. So it's really good.
Thank you, Dr. Mooney. Larry Gleason has been our representative with NISBA and all of those sort of exciting meetings, so he has a comment about the community comment.
Yeah, we are a member of the New York State School Boards Association and the Nassau Suffolk School Boards Association. However, we as a board have never discussed or voted on any particular resolution supporting or not supporting the New York State School Board's position on the tribal amendment. It may be something we address at some point, but we have not done so yet.
And now we have some certificates, actually beautiful plaques to be awarded this evening, and I will read a little bit about them. On behalf of Commissioner King and the Board of Regents of the New York State Department of Education, congratulations go to our district for having schools that have been designated as reward schools. The certificates that are being awarded are for recognizing the achievements of Schreiber High School, Weber Middle School, and South Salem Elementary School as schools in New York State that have made the most progress or have the highest performance with no significant gaps in student achievement. You are being presented award certificates from Commissioner King and the Board of Regents that celebrate the success of our district in supporting educational excellence. Congratulations on a job well done. Mr. Conrad, Ms. Riley, and Mr. Shields, will you come down and collect your plaques?
Thank you. We'll try to cover this quickly. A little longer than normal. There's been a lot of discussion about how to finance education and where we're going as a district longer term. And there are a number of drivers that are now bringing us towards this. And basically, the tightness and the fiscal constraints that result from the tax cap continue to put long-term education at risk, and it makes it impossible for the district, to invest in the proper facilities that are required for the kids over the long term. There are a number of projects dating back 10 or 15 years that have gone uncompleted for basic lack of funds, and the only way the district can fund them is through bonding and through some sort of long-term capital structure. So starting in May of this year, we started meeting within the committee, and then over the summer, the architects who work with the district then went out into meet with all the principals around the district and came up with certain lists of requirements. There is also a 5-year business plan and building and construction plan that has been drawn up and prepared that listed a number of projects that we have that are required, just even some basic stuff that we just need. Coupled with this, we continue to experience increased enrollment across the district. We are one of the few districts. We're in sort of a significant minority here as to our enrollment continuing to go up. As we heard earlier, year over year, we continue to have a number of additional students. I think it's over the last 5 or 6. The total is in the neighborhood of 300, and our projection is over the next 5 or 6, we will have another 300 at least. Later on in the agenda, there is an item where we will, to make sure that we're not going down a rabbit hole, approve the work of the demographer to come in and take a look at the longer-term enrollment. But looking out into the out years, 2019, 2020, we have several buildings that actually will exceed the usable capacity with student load or run in the high and mid-90s, which basically makes it an untenable situation, short of increasing class size well above the levels where we have today. So as you heard earlier when Karen mentioned, there will be committees formed then over the next few weeks. We will set up building tours. There is a list of items that has already been called out of the work over the summer. There is no shortage of projects, and to dispel sort of one of the earlier comments, honestly, we are looking at numbers somewhere between 50 and 70 million as to what the district really requires as far as ongoing building and other projects. There is a long list included in dealing with our science facilities at the moment that are dating back in some cases to the 1970s and earlier. We have other areas of the district that need to be repaired, our athletic fields. This auditorium is on the list as something that needs updating. We have portables that have lived their useful life and need to be replaced. There is some discussion whether some of the portable space should be converted to fixed space and the portables eliminated. That list goes on. And then there are really just baseline capital projects, doors, windows, a number of things that go into that. I don't have all the list, and I don't want to take the time. Through the process, we will work with the committee. We will take building tours. We will look at all the list of the projects. Over time, those will be discussed. So that sort of a basic agenda will be that citizen committee, if you will, with some of the members of the board. Will tour the facilities, then have a meeting after that to discuss what we looked at during that tour. That will continue. The board itself will then have multiple meetings to discuss all of this, leading towards a final budget adoption at some point. Not budget, but bond adoption the middle of December, which will then lead to a 45-day period and eventually a vote in early February of next year. One of the reasons and drivers behind having the vote before the budget is there are certain items in the budget that will not be required and could be used for other things that we could then use bond funds to replace. We have been presently trying to use what I would term as about $700,000 worth of line item in a budget to take care of the overall facilities of the district and also advance the educational agenda as far as facilities, and that is far too little for the longer term. But in combination of meetings with other groups, and as was mentioned, we met yesterday with the athletic group last night, we listed the number of items that we have on that list. We received feedback. There were a good, I want to say, 75 to 100 people there last night in the cafeteria, covering all the different athletic associations, both in school and out, to make sure we had a fair balance of what that particular cohort within the district was looking for. We will do the same with other involved participants and other groups within the district as well as in our own. And all of this will tie into a longer-term vision that the school district and the administration has, as well as the building leaders, for what education needs to look like over the next 15 to 20 years. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the kindergartners this year are the class of 2026. And I sort of, again, said last night that a child born yesterday was the class of 2031. And it really is an amazing thing to think that we are trying to envision what education will look like now 17, 18 years from today, and what our facilities have to do to support that. But that's what a lot of this goes into. And as we see the push in pre-K, and we look at that, we're going to possibly need more room for that. It's a never-ending cycle, and if the demographer confirms what we are experiencing, or possibly even tips the scales, a lot of this will simply go into ensuring that we have the proper space for students to come here and learn. And ultimately, that's our mission as a school district, and we have to just make sure we can do it. The funding that goes into this, in 2022, we have a line item that presently is in the budget for $5 million that pays for the principal and interest on the previous bond done earlier, roughly 12 years ago. It comes off and could be used longer term to carry this new bond. And we are working with the financial consultants of the district to try to build some type of ladder process in doing the construction over a number of years between now and 2021, and then funding it through the savings and other mechanisms to minimize the financial impact on the community. Timing-wise, one of the reasons we're also trying to advance the agenda is it will take us about 6 months to draw the plans for any type of construction, and the SED backlog at the moment is 6 months and increasing. You can see our surrounding districts. Swanica just passed 78 million, Roslyn last May 41. Manhasset will be coming with somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 million, most likely to a vote in December. We attended actually one of their budget presentations and bond presentations just to get a flavor for what they were doing. Mr. Domi and I were over there earlier this year to look at that and just to catch up on what their thoughts were. But there are a number of other school districts around Long Island doing the same thing, and also in upstate New York, because they're all coming to the same conclusion. You can use reserves so far, you can increase your budget by 1.5%, and then there's no money left to actually invest in your physical infrastructure and in education. And so bonds will become at the moment one of the ways we actually try to catch up. And so, again, as Dr. Mooney and Karen had mentioned, everybody is invited to participate. The more the better. I think when the community actually goes on the tours and sees some of the facilities that we are working with, hopefully that will enlist their support on changing it for the future.
I just want to make clear, in case anyone didn't get this part, that the numbers we're working with, it's really all in flux. So nothing is set in stone yet, and we are working on that. So if you're hearing other numbers that are coming up in various discussions we're having, it's because there really is a lot going on, a lot of pieces to all of it. And I really hope that everyone in the community will take advantage of going on these facilities tour. I think as you start to see the items that we'll be listing, if you actually saw them firsthand, you'll know that the things in this bond that we are talking about are not a wish list, and they're not luxury items. They're things that we need to do to bring the school district where it needs to be. We've been treading water for a long time with our facilities because of the financial situation, and somehow we have to get ahead of it. This is really the only way. So we hope everyone will be coming to the meetings and staying informed, and we will be us to be hearing from all of you. So they're really important. And is there anything else?
Since it's actually a discussion, I just want to put my 2 cents in. Even though like part of it was originated because of our baseball folks coming and wanting to revamp the field, I do want to reiterate that it is not an athletic bond, it is not a pool bond, it is a whole district revamping bond. If you just want to think back to the things that we're looking to do is change science labs. Think about when the science labs were built, 1960, 70s. What has happened in science alone that we could change these labs? I mean, we're talking about someone walking on the moon, and now, we're talking about walking on Venus. So it's like the amount of the discovery of hemoglobin. We're way beyond the genome project and everything now. So what has happened in just 50 years, and that's what we're working in. We're working in 50-year-old labs. We're working in classrooms that don't have enough space for the kids. We are working on stages where pieces of ceiling are falling down. So this isn't something that is really optional as far as I'm concerned. It's not. We have a great student, I applaud him for coming up and talking about how there are cuts and that his club is suffering. Trust us, when we feel your pain, and debate club is awesome, but at the same time, we also are dealing with so many other financial issues in the district. This is just not an optional bond. It really isn't. Like ceiling, would you like your debate team sitting here and a ceiling falling on your head? It's not really anything ideal. It's just one of those things. It's not a pool bond. It's not an athletic bond. It's a whole district bond. We looked at all the buildings, what they needed, what the principals say we needed. We're now listening to community on what they want and what they would like to see in it. We're not working in a bubble. We want to hear from people, and the only way to get this passed is to hear from people and have you tell us what we need.
I just want to piggyback on what Chris said, because as part of doing this bond and facilities, which we do need, it really is going to encourage our efforts to really look at where education is going over the next 15-year period or 30-year period, as long as these facilities are going to last, because we don't want to put in something that is good for what we're doing now, and in 5 years there's a whole other way. Our district focus has changed. So as part of this process, we're also looking at the curriculum and the instructional methods and everything else and saying, how is that going to look in 10 years? How is that going to look going out into the future? And we need the flexibility in whatever we're going to do to make sure that we can meet the needs of it. And facility extracurriculars are also affected by facilities. Just like athletics are affected by facilities, and I think that we need to provide a good, safe environment that for everybody to be learning in and participating in your extracurricular activities. And if this is successful, there will also be some savings into our general budget, because we won't be fixing leaking roofs and we won't be doing all of that. And hopefully some of those savings can fall out to do things like fund our extracurriculars to the extent that we would all love to fund them, and things like that. So I think it's a very important thing to discuss. I don't think anybody is saying we have a plan yet. I think we're working towards the plan, and we're trying to get as much input as possible from both an educational and facility standpoint. And we're trying to do it as quickly as possible, and we're trying to come up with something that I think we're not going to sacrifice quality for haste.
So it's quite the crowd. It brings me back to the days when I was on the other side and just how torturous these meetings can be. But sorry guys. About the bond, the good news. I'm trying to keep that going. About the bond. The good news is that we have $5 million that we won't have to pay anymore. The per year, the bad news is that it happens in 2022. So the challenge is getting from here to there without hitting the taxpayers too hard. Alan has been amazing on trying to figure out how to thread the needle. We haven't had a lot of money going to capital improvements in the budget for the last few years. So yeah, we could use the money to make capital investment for the community. So you know, it really has to do with, for me, how do we thread the needle without impacting the community too badly with the extra taxes. I think that there is a way to do it, and we've been working on it. So I'm encouraged by it. Part of the solution to that problem is going to be staggering the borrowing, and so not borrowing so much in the beginning, and then borrowing a little bit more as we get closer to having the relief of not having to pay $5 million a year. So just keep that in mind that, you know, like Larry was saying, and I think that's very important, you know, school districts don't get the opportunity very often to be able to buy a lot of new stuff. And when you do a bond, you can do it. And you just want to spend your money as smartly, in the most smart way you can. So I'm for the project if we can figure out how to get from here to there. And I think that it's worth the time to spend now on trying to figure out what we need. Just keeping in mind that we won't be able to buy it until, you know, a couple of years as the borrowing will go up, most likely. So I mean, again, I think it's well worth our time to spend all of this time trying to figure out what the district needs most. But I would also realize that it's going to happen over a few years. So, and I also want to thank Alan for the amazing job and the amount of time and effort he's put into this, because I don't think this could be possible if he hadn't had that commitment.
Thank you. If there's nothing else from the board on that specific one. Oh, definitely.
I just wanted to add that the district administration is very committed to working with the Board of Education and the community to seeing this process through. We believe it's very important. We're very proud of the quality education that is provided to our students in our district, and we know with the proper facilities we can have an unbelievable education for our students in the future as well, and we really, really want to make that happen. So,
Thank you. I just want to kind of skip forward. There's something later on the agenda that's really pertinent to discuss with the bond issue, and that is approving a demographer this evening on the agenda. And we were only able to get 2 bids out of all the ones we had tried to track down. And the board received information on both of them, one of them being BOCES for $15,000, and one of them being a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ross Faber, that he has been used by other districts successfully. They were quite pleased, and we saw the backup on that, and he was $4,000. So I just want to get a sense of the board on which one they want to go with. I'm personally pleased with Dr. Faber for $4,000, but I want to make sure there's no objection to that, so that we can plug that into the resolution.
Certainly, I think the thing that I had a question on both of them is none of them indicated any real, although they've done a lot of these studies, they haven't indicated what training they had to actually do these studies, and having no idea how to do these studies. I mean, statistics backgrounds or anything else. So certainly in all of them being equal, I would certainly go for the less expensive one, but I'm not quite sure how they do it, how they get the expertise to do it, and how accurate they've been in the past. I think I good recommendations.
And to the best of my knowledge, some of the data that they use is live birth data. They look at previous already student population data, and I guess they look at, moving forward, some of the other, like our beds information probably take upwards of 6 months. And a local school district highly recommended.
Also, Dr. Beaver seems to have lots of expertise in designing busing routes and everything. I was wondering if at some point we might want to have him look at whether or not we can do any cost savings or efficiencies in the way we do our busing, if we're happy with how he does the model thing.
We also seem to have he also seems to have some expertise in studying facilities, which is also something that we should especially looking at changing floor plans, looking like perspective on offering. There's another question that this brought to my mind, and this is something I've mentioned before, is that BOCE seems to be very expensive. Not just on this, on virtually everything up here, when this calls into question. I mean, when somebody is highly qualified comes in at 25% of the cost of BOCE, I think that's something we should tell BOCE and say, hey guys, you're at a point.
Okay, thank you. So now I will now proceed with having resolutions. And we will go to committee reports, policy and personnel.
We don't really have too much to report this week. We had to postpone, reschedule our meeting that was scheduled, I believe, for last Friday. The opening it was actually, it would have been the August 28th, and we had to reschedule that one. Our next meeting will be on September 18th, and it will be, I believe, in Dr. Mooney's office, or we have another, the annex, okay, sorry, it'll be in the annex at 8:30. Everybody's invited to attend. Thanks. Oh yeah, the agenda will be posted, of course, in a timely fashion. Be sure to show up.
Budget and facilities, I don't know if there's much left to say, except I have stuff
We had our meeting on Friday where we did mostly bond stuff. We went through a lot of drawings to get an initial feel. But one of the other things we wanted to mention is that the district is piloting the sale of 10 parking spots in the Montfort lot next to the post office to residents who want a fixed commuter spot. They have been lined, and you need, and I don't have the number, I apologize, but contact the district and wait, okay. After I finish, Chris will tell you the number that you can call and actually get your own private reserved parking spot. So if you are a late commuter and unable to find parking, the district will now give you a monthly spot for a small fee, and it will sort of have your name on it, and you can buy it month after month after month. And if we find that we have more than 10 people applying, we will hold a lottery based on that number of people, and then look to increase the available number of spots up to the demand. We have a two-tier system. We have a in-Port Washington resident rate and a out-of-town rate should we need to fill the spots, but this is another way to drive revenue into the system and hopefully provide more funding for all sorts of things, including extracurricular. Listen, you can pay me, I'll come down and wash the car. So, okay, you.
It's 767-5472.
And we are working on a date for the next budget meeting.
Yes, so either the end of week of the 22nd or possibly the morning of the 3rd.
We will let everyone know as soon as we can. And the spots are very beautiful, just so everyone knows they're special. Curriculum, Larry.
Curriculum, we're meeting this Friday, 8:30 at Daly, and we will be discussing our goals for the year as well as looking at the implementation of the new math program. 8:30, and hopefully we'll get an agenda posted the next day. But everybody is more than welcome. So,
Thank you. Now I'm going to move to the action items. Mary, that usually guides us, is not here. Do I have to make a motion separately, or can we just plug in? Okay, so have you done that? Yes. Dr. Haber for $4,000 is on the agenda. Okay, all right. So, I make a motion for items A1 through D8. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? 7-0, thank you. I would like to, I would just like to thank the Society for Science and the public, Mr. Ron Appel, Weber HSA, Salem HSA, and Sousa HSA for their very generous donations to the school district. Larry.
We're disposing of some textbooks, which we always do, and what I learned last year is that there are some organizations that actually take old textbooks and send them to other countries where they don't mind having a 15-year-old textbook because it's better than having no textbook at all. So I was just wondering if there's any way we potentially explore them as long as they can pick them up and we don't have to pay a lot of money to do it and have them take some of our old books.
Mary would really be one of the let us know. The next is the information item on the agenda. It's also posted regarding tenure for this year. It's a long list, so it's on the website. Is there any old business? For new business this evening, I want to bring up something that we've been discussing for a long time, and I think we need to make a decision about it. It was brought to our attention to raise hand by parent council at the budget and facilities meeting, but it really is a matter for the entire board at a public meeting. So we want to talk about the polling places and whether we want to go back to 1 or 2 polling places rather than 4. And I just want to say that I, for one, feel if we're going to change it, we have to go back to 1, because if we're going to go to 2, it's going to be so disruptive and confusing and absolutely not solving the problem that so many members of the community brought to our attention about confusion over where people vote, that I don't see the point to going to 2. We do save money by going down to less polling places. The amount is not hugely significant, but we do save some money. It's really more the point about the voters. It was originally changed, for those that don't recall, because people said more voters would come out. And every year, the amount of voters has dropped since we've done this. So I think I would like to propose that we go back to 1 polling place at Weber. We've always had the cooperation of the staff there to help us out with parking. It is a little congested, it is a little bit difficult, but we all seem to move past it, and it seems to be a better outcome for everyone. So does anyone else want to weigh in on this? Chris?
If you change it, can it be changed for the next budget vote, or is this year already settled?
Mary should understand to that, and I seem to recall in our last discussion that she said there's a time frame. So I'm not sure, but we keep talking to them about not doing it. So regardless of whether it could be for the next vote or not, I think we can make a decision, and then we can ask her when she's back. Look, Mr. Rogers seems to be working now, I hope he's ready, and then we can move forward. We can have a resolution. Do we have to? No, we have a resolution on the next agenda to do this. So, Bill?
You know, Karen, you made the point, which is the point. I'm sorry, that the empirical evidence has shown that we don't need to work all places. We just don't. We can save not a terribly great amount of money, but I don't think the problems and whether we're that insurmountable. I also think it also helps in that we can get the election results a little bit quicker. And that's one other side of it, that I have zero problem with going down to 1 place.
I'm also in favor of going down to 1 polling place. I don't think that the stated purpose of going to 4 was so that more people would have the opportunity to vote, but as evidenced by the numbers, it really has not had that outcome. And I don't think it's that big of a town where it's really a disadvantage at all. And I would prefer it if it's a lot less confusing to most people, as was pointed out by the parent council presidents, and as we have been saying. Plus, we have the benefit of saving money. So I am all for going back to one polling place.
I know you guys don't believe this, but I'm actually, you wouldn't by looking at me, but I'm actually very young. And I wasn't around when they used to have it at a few places and then moved.
So from what I understand from the numbers of Mary did,
It's not going too well. This is set up. Mary said, I think, that they tried this as an experiment. The idea was that they were you would be able to get a lot more voters out. And I vaguely remember the numbers not really showing up, right? There was no significant difference. It's going down in here. Okay. But I just want to say that I thought that the parent council's comments, the presidents of the parent council, in one of the emails said that, for instance, everybody above north of Main Street, one place, everybody south of Main Street at Weber, for instance. I mean, one or two is, I guess it all matters if they can handle 4,000 people at Weber. It's no problem, you guys have done it before.
I am old enough to remember back when we used to have to vote in caves with the scratching on the outside of the wall. I actually haven't made up my mind about this yet because philosophically I'm opposed to anything that discourages voting in any way, and I would actually rather see us increase our budget and encourage more people to vote even if they don't vote the way I want them to vote. But I guess my question is, if we could go back to one location rather than two locations, would we be able to go back to same-day registration? And would people be able to just walk in and vote, which to me would be a positive to having the one person rather than having to be registered in advance. And so anyways, that would be a question, I guess, when our clerk comes back, we could do that and have that as part of the discussion next time.
I just want to say that I think what's discouraging voters is they don't know where to vote. Because in this town, you vote in 12 different places for all the elections, and some of the places, we have voting in places you never vote for other votes. And people are so confused, and they don't even want to deal with it anymore, so they're not going out voting, and the numbers are showing it's going down. So I think this is discouraging the voters. Just my humble opinion.
I agree with the one place as well. Dollars can be better spent elsewhere, and also it just reduces the interference that we run in the other buildings on the actual vote. We're disrupting 4 schools at the moment as we do this, and this would, by centralizing it in an area that is not as disruptive really at the end of the overall Weber complex. I think we can manage it, and with the cooperation of our own security and the Boston police, we will get everybody on and off campus drive effectively. It used to happen with 6,000 and 7,000 votes when it was all in Weber, and now we're 3,000 to 4,000. So I think we can easily manage that at the Weber campus drive facility.
I am going to then have it placed on the next agenda. We can hold a vote, and I will get the questions answered that we put up this evening.
Was there any reason to keep it at 4 at all?
The only reason it was changed to 4 at the time, none of us were on the board. Larry was on the board. I was not voting that decision. Voting against it. It was solely for the purpose of believing that more people would have access to votes.
Also, because there was not as much information in front of voting in the schools right now, because of contact, so our time was for purpose. And again, you know, really might turn out a lot of people complain that
opportunity for community to hear again. Does anybody want to?
Anyone else want to speak?
I want to commend the board and Alan for realizing and recognizing the fact that we have to think way out, way beyond this upcoming years, into 2022, 23, whatever. I think that's good business sense. I'm sure there are many facilities here that need upgrading. Having said that, and I usually don't personalize my remarks, but I will this time with all respect. Vernon, you mentioned earlier that you at one time sat on this side of the aisle, and you were one of the spearheads that got me involved in investigating and trying to learn about online education. And a lot of people that hang around here, which is most people, the Khan Academy, Bill Gates. Some of you may have heard of Bill Gates, who was quoted as saying that online education is the future of education. So if we're going to be talking sincerely and legitimately about what we're going to be doing 10, 15, 20 years down the road, as we probably should, then why aren't we thinking about those kindergarten children and first graders and second graders who, I like to say, nurture at their mother's whatever, and also 1 to 2 year olds who are also becoming acculturated into the computer, PC, laptop, iPad, even iPhones. So I would just suggest that I'd like to hear some legitimate discussion about what we can vision for online education. Why can't we keep talking about it, and I'm not saying that I agree. We are one of the leading educational establishments in Long Island, Schreiber High School, and the middle school and the lower grades. So why can't we be a leader? I mean, why can't we be a major leader on Long Island in not only talking about it, but trying in some form or fashion to implement online education on a test basis, an experimental basis? I certainly wouldn't expect to overnight change the curriculum to online. But let's have the dialogue. Talking about, I want to keep repeating myself, but we talk about a vision for 10, 15, 20 years. This should be part of the vision. Thank you very much.
I don't know if I can state my name for the record again. I have a pretty short comment. First bit is I've actually used Khan Academy before, so the suggestion about online education seems to have some merit to me. But also, we were just discussing voter turnout. So would moving the election to a weekend possibly increase voter turnout both for parents who are working and increasing the amount of time that can possibly be allowed for voting, as well as decreasing interference with educational functions?
The date of the vote is set by state law. It's not in our control. But good thought.
Thank you. We are adjourned.